Imagine, you are trapped in a lake. The only exit a narrow passage into the sea. But it is guarded by a fortress with cannons and the Spanish fleet. What would you do? Captain Morgan found the answer. Hello, dear subscribers. Today I will tell a story of how Captain Morgan managed, with cunning, to escape from what seemed to be a hopeless situation. In the year 1669, English pirates under the command of Morgan found themselves in a desperate situation. The pirates were trapped in Lake Maracaibo. In order to return from the lake to the ocean, they had to pass by a fortress, on the walls of which cannons were installed, turned toward the passage. In addition, across from the fortress were 3 Spanish ships, armed respectively with 48, 32, and 24 cannons. At Morgan's disposal were 8 vessels, the largest of which had 14 small cannons. It was impossible to pass. The pirate ships would be destroyed. The Spanish general gave the buccaneers 2 days to accept the terms of surrender. The pirates pretended to agree to the Spaniards' terms and moved their ships toward the Spanish fleet. The first ship, on the deck of which were installed dummies of people, was perceived as a ship with prisoners and was allowed to approach freely. In reality, this ship turned out to be a fire ship, a vessel filled with gunpowder, tar, and other flammable materials. By the time the mistake was discovered, it was too late. The main Spanish ship caught fire and began to sink. The second ship was successfully boarded. The third ship was sunk by the Spaniards themselves. But the fortress remained, reinforced by the crews of the lost ships. The pirates began preparations to storm the fortress from the land. Before the enemy's eyes, boats filled with armed men departed from the ships. The boats returned empty. The landing continued all day. By counting the number of trips, the enemy calculated the attacking forces. They were impressive. All cannons were hastily moved to the opposite side of the fortress to defend against the imminent assault. At night, without raising sails, moving with the help of the current, the pirate ships passed calmly by the fortress. There were no shots from the fortress. The cannons were aimed in other directions. There was no mass landing of troops. When the boats moved toward the shore, the passengers sat on benches, disembarked, marched inland in formation, and then crawled back to the boats. On the return to the ships, the pirates lay at the bottom of the boats. The same people made the trip between the ship and the shore several times to create the illusion of a massive landing. This story illustrates Chinese stratagem number 8. It is called, "Openly repair the gallery roads, but sneak through the passage of Chen Kang." Its meaning is to convince the enemy that he correctly understands your plans and then defeat him with an unexpected, unconventional maneuver. The enemy should perceive your actions as ordinary, standard, logically stemming from the situation in which you find yourself. But you must find an unusual path, one that is not obvious to your opponent, and defeat him. Captain Morgan knew stratagem number 8, or was just good at improvisation? Decide for yourselves and share your thoughts in the comments.